right, we ready to get going? Thanks so much for jumping on our call today. We are going to, a little bit later, after we get through some announcements, Alexia is going to kind of just talk with you all and get some ideas about how you are doing your annual action planning, your SCOT and action planning. So we want to talk a little bit about that today. You should have seen an email from me last week, this week, about starting our peer recovery support specialist community of practice calls. So we're going to have the first one of those on September 17. And we are going to, I'm going to send out after this call today, I've taken the team list that you all submitted this spring, and I have put them into an Excel sheet by role. So I'm going to send that back out to all of you, and if I could ask for you to please take a look at that list, that Excel document, and find your team members on those lists and make sure that we have the most up-to-date list. And if we do not, could you don't do anything with that list, just email me the updated names for your team members. We need that for a couple of reasons. We're trying to, again, kind of build out our community of practice calls, build out just those role-specific outreach materials, either by role or by court team, that kind of thing.
I know you'll be
so we're going to, and we've got somebody who's not muted. We're hearing your meeting.
Yeah.
We are, we're gonna start out that first peer recovery support call is going to be focused on that new document that came out from All Rise last fall that sort of provides some guidance on peer recovery support specialists in treatment court teams. We've been with a couple of teams recently. They've had a lot of questions about that document. So I really want to encourage all of you, if you have not, to go ahead and take a look at that document, talk amongst yourselves as a team. We are going to have that conversation first with the peers in September, just because that was the timing. And then we will have that follow-up conversation with all of you. Just to have a sense of, let's talk about it. What questions do you have? We're really lucky to have two of our colleagues who have joined the State Advisory Committee. Maya Hughes, who works with, she is a peer forensic trainer and is also a trainer for All Rise. So she has joined our advisory committee. She's going to be joining that call and working with the peer recovery support specialists. And then we'll also bridge over and join our call on October 30th. And likewise, Daniel Conway. Daniel, I don't know if you're on here today, but Daniel is the manager for our Haywood court out in the, Haywood, is that right? Out in the West. And so he has also joined our advisory committee, and he is going to be on that call with the peer recovery support specialist, sort of listening in for all of you, and we'll bridge back to the conversation on October 30th. So do take a look at that document before we meet again on October 30th. We also have heard from a lot of folks that a lot of teams and a lot of communities are engaged in some sequential intercept mapping. So if you are doing that in your community, I'm going to send out the notes from today. But we have been asked by Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services to please loop in a woman named Sheila Burns. She is coordinating that, that work and that TA at the state level. And so we just want to, if your community is doing that SIM work, please email her and copy us just so that we know what's kind of happening out there. Likewise, we have also heard from quite a number of teams that treatment has been a bit of a challenge, both in terms of continuum of levels of care, and you have said that you've got some concerns about treatment quality. So whether your treatment providers are using manualized treatment, whether they are able to articulate to you what they are doing in those treatment groups, some of those kinds of things. And so we do want to kind of collect that information so that we can share that with the advisory committee. We can share that with our colleagues at DMH. But DMH is also, the state has a, it's called the NC-TAC, so the North Carolina Technical Assistance Center. And there is a group out of UNC that is, actually they're across a couple of universities. They will come out and can do technical assistance and training in your community with your treatment providers. And they are specifically focused on working with justice system partners, justice involved folks. And so they're a really nice resource for you. So we're going to send that link out to you as well following this meeting. Database systems. I know we collected from all of you this spring what database system you are using. We want to hear from you about your database systems. What do you like about it? If you like your system, what do you really like? Why do you like that system? What makes it a really good system, do you think? If you were able to add an enhancement to your existing data system in terms of reports or users or any kinds of things like that, or data points that you would like it to include, please send us that information. Also, if you're using a data system and you really don't want it, you really don't like it very much, we also want to hear about that, and we want to hear kind of why that's not such a great data system. So we will be, we need to have that information from you by this Friday. It doesn't need to be fancy, just a couple of data points, just a couple of bullets. What do you like about your system? If you really like it, what would you like it to do more of if you could? And if you do not like your data system, let us know that too, so that we're not kind of thinking about expanding use of that particular system.
I'd also add, Kirsten, if I know some of you have switched systems through the operations of your court over the years. So if you've used another system before and you want to give us some comparison between the two, or share reasons why you perhaps switched to the current system that you're using, that would be helpful as well. Kirsten, did we lose you? Are you there, Kirsten? Okay. Well, we'll let her to rejoin. Okay, so I'll continue on kind of with where she was headed. So definitely share information about your data systems to us by Friday. That would be helpful for us as we continue to explore perhaps getting a statewide database for our courts. You all know that the UNCW is doing our statewide study and developing a strategic plan for us at AOC. The General Assembly is funding that. Many of you have been contacted by the staff and researchers at UNCW. So we are coming up on, if I could just have everybody who is not speaking mute, that way we won't have feedback and so everybody can hear the conversation. So we're coming up on the assessment from them. That'll be due September the 15th. We actually will be meeting with UNCW this afternoon. Hopefully that has been a beneficial process for you all in terms of speaking with the staff and the researchers, and we do appreciate everything that you've shared. This is going to help us or help the General Assembly as well as AOC make some decisions moving forward as how we want to support the courts or can support the courts, and the General Assembly perhaps making a decision whether or not they want to, provide some funding for our recovery courts. So we'll keep you updated as to what the assessment will be and share that with you. Let's see. So we have created some team lists and we want to make sure that I know that we've started doing our community and practice calls with you all. So we want to expand it, of course, to all of your team members as well. And so what we're trying to do is create those groups of like team members so that we could also schedule some community and practice calls with them and being able to talk with them and share some information or just getting feedback from those particular team members. So in your team list, just make sure that they are updated, or if you have a change in a team member, shoot that out to myself and Shearson so that we can keep that updated as regularly as possible. In addition to that, we're trying to keep our recovery court directory updated of you all as well. So when there is a change in staff, just make sure you let us know, or if you feel like there's going to be a period of time where you will be out and there's going to be somebody who's a point of contact that we need to make sure that we get the information out to, share that with us as well so that we can make sure that everybody is being kept in the loop as best as possible especially when we're sending out those funding notifications or announcements of solicitation for grant applications. We can get that to as many of you all as possible so that you can be informed and be aware of that. Are there any questions based on what we've shared with you thus far in this particular call or previous to that, or any questions that you all have or things that you want to share with each other based on some of the stuff that we've talked about thus far? This is an open forum. There's no judgment here. We just want to be able to have open conversation and dialogue with you all, and for you all to each have open conversation and dialogue with each other. A lot of times we will get requests for information from you individually and try to send that out to you, but we want to create an environment where you can have some free flowing conversation kind of in real time. So don't be afraid to speak out. Anybody? Nothing to share? No questions?
I do have a question.
Yes, Mary. Hi.
Hi. It's not necessarily what you that MRT is no longer going to be available for our participants because of the contract change.
You're breaking up a little bit. We can't quite hear you completely.
So MRT is no longer going to be available for our participants because of the contract change with probation and. Can you hear me?
Didn't quite get it. If you'll type it in the chat, that way I can repeat it and then we can get some
Lexi, I
response.
think she's asking about the state contract for MRT that was recently gone. I think she's having issues and wondering if MRT is going to still be able to be provided by the state level for her participants in her program.
Have they shared that with us? Okay, we'll check on that, Mary, with our point of contact with DMH and find out.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Is it going through probation or?
So I'd be provided through Coastal Horizon.
Coastal Horizons, okay.
I know we've never utilized the MRT through the state contract. I've sent some of my staff to become trainers for MRT so that they can provide the MRT portion of it, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a therapist. That might be an option that would be a little bit depending on what your funding is and things like that, but it might be an option to ensure that you're able to do it while you wait, is get somebody certified. And then the books are fairly expensive depending on which program you're running. They're about $50 a piece.
Thank you for that.
Other questions?
Yeah, I had a question. I was just wondering how many coordinators are going to be going out to the coordinator training All Rise in Oklahoma next month.
Honestly, that's the first I've heard about that one. And I mean, we go to the regular conference, so I'm not going to be going out there for that.
Daniel, did you have a comment, or you're indicating that you're going?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going, and I believe Blaine from Bumpton is going as well.
Okay, Blaine Fish. Okay. It's something that they do, if I'm not mistaken, every year. And Valerie, I know that you all went, was it last year or 2022? You all went, so it's part of that team role training, individual, like the All Rights does the treatment provider, they do it for probation officers, judges as well. And so they have it for coordinators. And it's always in the western part of the state. And if I'm not mistaken, they do it yearly around this time, pre-fall or in the fall.
Last time it was in March.
Okay.
Yeah, last time it was in March. That's when we went last year, and it was in Oklahoma.
Vanessa, I see you indicated what training. So what we can do is find out if it's still open in terms of accepting applications. I don't know the cost that's associated with it, but we can send that information out to you all in case there's some interest there, at least for you to have it on your radar in the future for including in your budgets. Other questions?
Lacey, I had another question. In a previous meeting, you had talked to us about the state wanting to get standardized testing, or not testing, but training for all team members. And you had mentioned that we may have like a minimum standard of training and wanted us to start documenting our team members and what kind of trainings they had already had. Do you know how far that's come along?
Probably to that, two things, I guess, to that. So we're working on developing a training infrastructure where we have those seasoned team members or folks that have been working with recovery courts across the state for a period of time. Valerie and Zane are definitely coordinators that we've included in that training. And so it provides an opportunity for us to build a training infrastructure of team members for our courts that can go out and train teams, also to provide some guidance and mentorship and just peer-to-peer contact with like team members that are having issues on the courts, that are serving on teams, those new ones that are coming on board to do kind of the one-on-one training, as well as doing some team training, because each team that starts or when you implement, we definitely recommend to do some foundational training. And we know that All Rise has a limited number of trainings that they can put on their calendar, and it's open to all states. And so in the interim period of time, we do have a lot of courts that will start or get started, or those that kind of need some refresher training. And so we wanted to try to create a training infrastructure here in North Carolina. We used to have one in the past when we were funded by the state that actually did those trainings throughout the course of the year. And so that is something that we're still working on building. We kind of identified those team members that we are getting trained. They've been to observe our different types of training. We had VTC training in Jacksonville last month, and the state team of trainers went to observe that, so that it's an opportunity for them to get acclimated with how All Rise does their training, so that we can roll it out across the state. Outside of that, we do want to try as best as possible. It really is relying on you all sharing this information with us. When you have new team members come on board, whether it be a treatment provider, judge, whomever it may be, let us know, and then we can try to partner them with perhaps the state trainers, as well as being on the lookout for some training that's available nationally for those team members. We definitely encourage anybody who's new to recovery courts, or just when you need a refresher. All Rise has online training that's available, and so that is a self-paced training course that's available. And if there's an opportunity for folks to do online role-specific training, of course, when we find that information out, we'll share that with you as well. Sometimes that does become available. I know with the coordinators going out to do that training, it's the cost associated. And so we want to try to keep the costs down as minimum as possible. And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to develop the training infrastructure here in North Carolina. And we are updating the standards. That's a process that's going to take a minute. We have minimum standards for North Carolina, and those standards have not been updated since 2010. So we know that changes have come aboard in state as well as nationally, especially with the releasing of the best practices, updated best practices, which you all we've shared that with you. If we haven't, those of you that are new here on this call, I see quite a few new names. Definitely reach out to us. We'll share that with you all. It's always available on the All Rise site as well. So we want to incorporate some of those new changes into our standards, as well as we know that our statute has changed a little bit. We're looking at redoing the statute again with this next legislative session. And so all of that stuff needs to be incorporated into our minimum standards. Those minimum standards are meant to be recommendations about operating our courts. And in the past, they have been more of a driven towards the adult. We want to make sure we incorporate, because we have multiple different recovery courts types. We want to make sure that those types, including family, veteran, and mental health, DWI, are incorporated in those standards, so that we can have some best practice guidance for courts that are operating, as well as those districts and counties and judicial staff that are interested in starting new courts. And so part of that process, we are relying on our JMARC Advisory Committee. We have created subcommittees, a minimum standards subcommittee that will start that work in the fall. Hopefully by the first quarter of next year, we can get those standards approved and be able to disperse them out to everyone. So we will definitely be sharing that as we make those changes. We can share the 2010 standards with you as a guidance. We definitely want to caution you, though, that a lot of the stuff in terms of our practice that we're doing has changed. A lot of the verbiage has changed. And so we want to make sure that we get back on track with getting those updated and keep them updated moving forward. Any other questions? I don't quite see everybody on my screen at one time, so if you throw your hand up, just take yourself off mute and jump in there with the question. I do, as you see in the chat, Kamisha mentioned that you can sign up for the All Rise emails. That's for anybody to sign up for. In the last couple of months, stuff has come out, no, not a lot of stuff, but I usually will try to send as much as possible out to you all, especially if you're interested. We encourage everything that comes out of this office that you share that with your team, regardless of, you know, what the topic or the subject matter is in that particular information. We are going to be, in the next few weeks, asking you all to solicit yourself, well, share whether or not you would like to be a mentor court. And by consider to be a mentor. When you see me turn, you see I'm talking to Kirsten because she's now in the
My
office.
computer stopped working.
So we will be asking you all if you would like to be considered a mentor court. There will be kind of a brief application process, or not really application, but just sharing information. We know that over the course of a number of years, we haven't been able to really keep up, and I'll say that honestly, with how the courts are operating across the state. We know that a lot of you all have been recognized as mentor courts nationally, and so we want to make sure that we identify you here in the state, and the reason for that is so that when we have new courts that are starting, we can send them to you to go and observe, to talk with you and your team members about your operations, and just be able to ask questions, as well as if we have visitors that come in state that want to, you know, visit one of our courts. We can have that list available as suggestions of where to go to see a court that's been operating for a while and is definitely adhering to minimum standards and best practices. So we'll send that out. More information will be coming with regards to that. I think we covered everything. Okay, so the gist of one of the things that we wanted to talk about for today's call is to ask you all if you're currently doing SCOTs. And a SCOT is a opportunity for you to identify your strengths, challenges, opportunities, and threats for your recovery court. We, in our minimum standards in the past, have made the recommendation that our teams do a SCOT every year. It's an opportunity for you to check in and see how your operations are going, identify where there's some things that need to be changed, or perhaps, you know, even though we get caught up in the day-to-day things, that the needs are there. You know, we've talked about, you know, on this call, that there's a lack of treatment or a lack of best practice treatment in that area. And so if that's considered to be a threat or a challenge for you, we want to make sure that you're identifying that as a team and sharing that information and coming up with an action plan to address the issue. It's also an opportunity for you all to see what's working well in your court, or anything that you want to hone in on. One of the opportunities for you to do that is at a retreat, team retreat. We encourage you all to have retreats at least yearly, where you have an opportunity for your team to get away from the day-to-day business of operating your court and in their respective roles in terms of your team members, to get away from the day-to-day operations and be able to really talk about, you know, it could be a specific topic that's going on that you want to have addressed, and whether or not you can maybe make some changes. We encourage you to do that. Typically it's a whole day, just pulling the team away. If you can go outside of the courthouse, outside of your offices, that is highly recommended. And the team members, if they can commit to that full day, that's great. And this an opportunity for you to kind of step away from regular business and just really just, talk about some things, especially it's a good opportunity if you have new team members for them to have some opportunity for you all to engage with each other. We encourage you, if you have an opportunity, to have a facilitator, to come in to do your SCOT as well as help you with your retreat. So we wanted to open it up to see if you all are doing SCOTs, how that has worked for you. Are you reaching out to someone in your community to do your facilitation? That's definitely necessary. You as coordinators are definitely the hub of everything, and you're the one that kind of is leaned on to really kind of facilitate everything. And we want you to have an opportunity to be a participant instead of facilitator for your SCOTs and your retreats. So definitely we want to see if you would share with us how that has worked for you. Do you find that you have a need now that you know what a SCOT is or retreat, or that it's been mentioned? I know that we're in August and, over half of the year is gone. And so when you can get it on your calendar, it's best to do it as early in the year so that your team members are aware of when it's scheduled and if you need to make changes, because we know it's a full day of commitment. So I'll open it up just to see if anyone wants to share your experience with doing your SCOTs and your retreats, how that has worked for you, who have you used to facilitate, and whether or not you want to get one scheduled, and if you need any assistance with that.
I'll say for Buncombe County, at least, our courts quarterly have a policy review meeting. So that's in-house without a facilitator, but I was just talking with our Aspire Court coordinator about having one for that court, and we've gotten commitment from our strategy and innovation department in the county to facilitate that conversation.
Great, thanks, Jillian.
So for this is Valerie. So for Robeson County, early on with our family treatment court, in the days when we didn't have a whole lot of funding, we would have one-day retreats. They would be away from the office. I remember our first facilitator was Peter Baker. And he he did an excellent job. I'm always in trainings in different places, so I'm always trying to tap someone outside of our team members to facilitate a SCOT analysis for us. We're actually scheduling now. We have a little money. So our retreats go beyond one day. And we had one maybe about a year ago. It was in Raleigh. We just spent the night at a hotel and had a team dinner, had breakfast, and then we got right into some training. We do have some of the innovative funds, and we were tasked with the innovative funds to implement trauma approaches. So I tapped a trainer who specializes in trauma, and she came by and did trauma training, and Alexia helped us out with some of the other activities. Team building is always a part of our retreat. And this year we're going to Myrtle Beach, and we have a national treatment court trainer. She actually lives in North Carolina. She's going to come by and do a 2.5-day training because now we're combined with family, adult, and DWI, and the adult and DWI courts are fairly new. And so we felt we really, really needed more in-depth training. And so I contacted her and she was open and available. So we're going to have her do the meat of the training with an action plan that we can actually leave with once we leave there, but also have some team bonding. We're going to have a team dinner as well. just to make it special. I will say that I've tried I've been with the court since 2008, and I try to have some form of a retreat every year. And the team actually really looks forward to retreats year after year because, that time to get away from the court and do something a little bit different, really, really helps. And it kind of keeps them engaged with the process in regards to what we do, makes them feel a little bit special about getting away.
Great, thank you, Valerie. Others? Are you all doing retreats?
This is Julie Walker, and I'm with Catawba. And then also we are part of the team in Burke County Adult Recovery Court. But in Catawba, with the adult and then even the VTC court, how we have worked through, and we've been doing the SWOT, it's similar to the Scott analysis, but that is in our strategic plan with each of our courts. In Catawba, you've got the adult VTC, but then the newer programs in Catawba is Family Recovery Court and Juvenile Recovery Court. And then in Burke, it's the Adult Recovery Court. But how we've worked through these type of SWOT analysis is that there was some allowance in the BJA grants in order to actually pull in an evaluator. So we've been using LR, the local university here, and the professors through our local university to come on and assist with that evaluation, but then also be the facilitator of our SWOT. It is a day retreat, and then we also provide lunch. I'll give you an example. CCRC Catawba Adult Recovery Court has been under that TA evaluation through UNC. We are ending that and getting some final report this next week. But then in the fall is when we usually do the SWOT, because with the BJA grants, they start in October. So we like to do it usually in the fall of the year for the SWOT to learn what we've received from any type of monitoring or evaluation that year ended, and then open it up with SWOT in the fall, and then pull in some strategic action planning is what we call it. It is very team oriented, and again, we do go off site from the courthouse, and we also do a luncheon. We learn a lot, and again, we implement that within our strategic plan for that remaining year coming in. But for Family and Juvenile Recovery Court, we've been in implementation year for this year. Those courts are actually starting in September, and so the idea would be is that we'll do a program year, and then SWOT is going to actually take place in the new program year because we will have things in place. But each of our courts does have the availability, and again, it is very retreat focused.
Hi, Alexa.
Hi, Kamisha.
Wake County Recovery Court also does a retreat. We did a 2-day retreat last year. Of course, offsite, we used a offsite county facility that's nice, but we provided breakfast, lunch, snacks, everything. But as someone asked in there about the funding, and as someone commented, it's training, really. You can call it a retreat, but it's a lot of training, looking at your program, what you need to improve, any new strategies or things the team need to talk about, to discuss and vote on. It's pretty hard to get everybody together at one time to discuss any major changes to the program. But come relax, come comfortable, wear your sneakers, wear your jeans, your t-shirt, kick back, and you also have to incorporate having something fun inside of it. We even played a little music when we were eating, kind of working, very relaxed. And our program evaluators, who have been our evaluators probably for, over 5 years, Dr. Lanier and Duvall actually facilitated our retreat for us. And they sent out an anonymous survey to get some feedback from team members on different things to kind of see how to guide things. But for example, last year we went over our handbook, looking at different policies that we had been discussing about changing and whatnot. But it's very beneficial. And I like what Lentora said about Durham. They try to do it a month after the national conference, which I'm like, oh, I'm gonna steal that idea, because that's great when everything's fresh and you're learning all the new stuff for whoever goes to try to look at how your court can implement it. But very beneficial. Oh, one more thing, Alexia. I hate to go back. I had put it in the chat, but I think it got lost. We're having a very difficult time, and I'm sure others are. You can't find inpatient treatment for folks with Medicaid or the clients who have gone to inpatient, their parents or family have paid for it or paid the cost. But has anybody had success outside of Dart and Black Mountain? Had it success with finding actual treatment? We've found a detox that's been great, Freedom Detox in Gastonia. But outside of that, our folks are struggling, and how can we better serve and help them?
I don't know if everybody's heard or not, but I do know that October Road up here in Asheville, they are trying to get the people from the state on board, and they are wanting to open up a full inpatient facility in Concord that takes Medicaid. But they've got to get people from the state level to approve it.
I wonder how many beds and how quick it's going to fill up, because if they don't take Medicaid, it's going to be almost impossible to get somebody in there unless you get a direct contact. But that's better than nothing. So, hey, Blaine, good to see you. But that's good to hear. But it's just so difficult. And then if they, it's hard to find a place for methamphetamines, or people who need something. It's really challenging. And then with Dart and Black Mountain not doing medication assisted treatment, that's a problem too for our clients that are on it. And most of our clients are on something.
We've had some recent success with Integrated, and they've just opened a new program down in Carteret County. And we had some hesitancy just because their director or their CEO is a little bit over the top and came into our community promising everything under the sun and then a little bit more. And so, we just had some concerns, but we have one of our young men out there, and even after he really had some major behavioral concerns, they have gone above and beyond to serve him, and then are working on getting one of our graduates who relapsed into their Carteret County program, and both are Medicaid, and that hasn't been an issue at all. They're also going to be opening a detox center in Goldsboro with a residential component as well. So they're really expanding their reach. So that's something worth looking into.
Okay. Thanks, Colleen.
Yeah, no worries.
I don't know about Dart, but I have heard that Black Mountain is in the process of getting ready to start accepting MAT while there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to share, is that this came up in our advisory committee meeting in July. It was just last month. So the advisory committee just discussed this issue with MAT, MOUD in Dart and Black Mountain. And so our representatives from DAC said that there is a plan to have both of those accepting MAT, MOUD for a variety of reasons. So we will have an update on that. We'll try to get an update to you all out on that. I was going to forward this to everybody. There's SAMHSA has a training next week on the 29th that is focused on understanding MAT, MOUD, and particularly bringing it into your jails and other detention centers, prisons, that kind of thing. So I will send that out, the link out when I send the follow-up notes from today's meeting for that. But that is in the process of being resolved.
Other thoughts or comments?
I was going to say, the other thing you can look into as far as treatment, it is hard for a lot of the nonprofit, ones that you don't have to provide funding for to accept somebody on MAT or MOUD, whatever terminology you're using. But there are a lot of different church organizations out there that have some sort of long-term inpatient facility. But the problem that you run into is you got to, one, it is a faith-based program, so they've got to, buy into that. But the other thing is they're typically not, I don't know of any that are going to accept somebody MAT currently.
Okay. Other thoughts or comments? Questions?
Well, I probably, you may have already covered it. My internet went out. I don't know why, but I just wanted to remind everybody about our upcoming conference on September 13th, and Sherston and Daniel will be speakers, which we're excited about. We've got, I think, some great topics. We've got Jan Rader coming in from West Virginia. She has the documentary Heroine that's on Netflix. We've got the DEA coming, bringing information on fentanyl and all other kinds of drugs, most current drugs, and one pill can kill, and all that information. We've got some new drug trend information. We've got 12 different breakouts, 2 different plenaries, all for the lovely price of $50. And that includes your breakfast, lunch, and a lovely parting gift. No, it's really going to be a good conference. And as far as funding to support the training for us, I mean, we raise enough money to hold a conference each year. That's kind of how it works. We do another conference in the spring. It's called State of the Child, and we use the same model. And we've been doing that one for 22 years. So we just kind of adopted the same model. We just hope as many folks can come as possible. I think it's going to be a really good conference. And if anybody needs lodging, we partner with the Mother Earth Motor Lodge, which is a lodge that hires a lot of our participants in our recovery court. And they're partners with us, and they're actually amazing partners with our recovery court. They hire our folks, and also they have a housing program, and so they've started giving us transitional housing as well for our folks. So it's a really neat part of our art community. So just wanted to share.
Great. And if you all are having any recovery court month activities next month, September, definitely share that with us so that we can send it out to everybody, as well as sharing it with our advisory committee. September the 5th and 6th is the Recovery Court Alliance. It'll be here in Raleigh. We'll send that information out as well. with our meeting information after today's meeting. It will be at the McCrimmon Center. Many of you have attended the Recovery Court Alliance. It's an opportunity for a wealth of information and just really that shared regard for recovery from multiple different agencies across the state. There is not a fee to attend it. So definitely we'll get that out to you. They do require registration, I believe, as well. So it's a 2-day kind of event. You don't have to go to both days, but it's open to everybody. So we'll send that out as well.
We're good. Nicole just asked for the link. I think, Alexia,
Yeah.
are you going to send the link out, or else I can do it? I'm probably too slow to get it in before you.
Out again. It should have been in the well, Nicole, you might. I think we have her on the listserv. So Nicole, we'll send it out to the group again with today's follow-up email as well. But it did go out last week, I think. Was I think the email is like upcoming events where we shared today's meeting coming up, as well as you'll see the email will have a graphic in the body of the email about the conference that Colleen and them are doing in District 9.
If I could also share, though, we do have it on our webpage, and not everybody knows we have a webpage. It's recoverytogetherenc.com, and you can go there, and we've started using that a lot with our training. So you can go there and you can go to the events section, and it's on our events section. But then it's also on our, you can go to our training section and pull up information about, oh, there you go, Audra, thank you. You can go to the training section and see stuff about Narcan. I think we're training over 200 people just this month on Narcan and harm reduction. And there's also information, just all kinds of cool information on the website.
Are there shareables? Anything good going on? Stuff you want to share about specific courts, business, things that you've made changes to? Just anything you want to share with us? Now, in today's meeting. Sorry, y'all.
I will give a shout out to District 9, and I know some other folks also have this, so I know that Buncombe's got the VTC podcast for interest, for example. District 9 has 2 really great videos on their website that highlight the work of the court, the work of their community collaborative. So I would recommend those to folks. And if there are other kinds of outreach and kind of public facing things, share them with each other. They give you ideas. There's something that you can share with folks who are curious about your course if you haven't gotten that far along in terms of the development of your outreach. So definitely take a look at some of those materials, take a listen to the podcast. Are there any other kinds of super cool things and successes that you all want to share today as we're kind of closing up?
Dana shared it, their Facebook page and website in the comments, in the chat field, as well as Kevin sharing some information as well. So definitely you all access that.
We'll send out the recording, so you'll have the chat in the recording as well.
If there are topics that you find that you want us to talk about at these community and practice calls, definitely continue to share that with us. We want this to be an opportunity for you all to learn some information from each other, as well as sharing information to you that there is a need for. So we definitely will reach out to our partners or community leaders in particular topic areas so that they can come and we can invite them to speak with us about. Thank you, Amanda. Any other comments or shareables?
I'll just say one of the cool things
ahead.
that we did with the website, my case manager was able, she's young, so she's in her 20s. So she was able to go to YouTube University and build this website, but she was able to create a way on there where they can apply for the program right there off of the website.
That's cool. Okay. Wow. We definitely appreciate everybody's time as always today. And hopefully we can continue to we will continue to roll out these community of practice calls and start doing those with your team members as well. So get them, let them know that this will be available. We'll have a forum for them to have some meetings moving forward. Once we get the assessment from UNCW, we'll share that with you as well. And as always, we appreciate information that you all are sharing with us, especially, when we're requesting it. Do not forget to send us your information about your databases. We'll get some notes out from today's meeting, as well as some of the links that have been shared so that you all will have that. And as always, reach out to us. And where there is a need, and we'll do our best to get that need resolved. All right. You guys have a good rest of your day and rest of the week. Labor Day is almost here, another holiday. Summer is gone. I hope everybody is staying safe. And we will talk with you all soon. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.